let me admit the students who are there. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. So this is new for me. Hey, if you're on Zoom, I need to know if you can hear me. I've got my ear pods in, and if you could just let me know if you can hear me. I heard something. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I heard something, so Kenneth, can you hear me? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to have to assume you cannot hear me, which is a bummer. Let's see. You can't hear me. Okay. You can't hear me saying what I just said, so just a second. You can see me, though, yes? You can see me? Hold on. So this is new. Let's see. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Ariel, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Not sure why this isn't working. All right. Can you hear me now? Guess what? Guess why you couldn't hear me? Yeah, I was muted. I was clicking on everything I could possibly click on to figure out why I didn't have sound, and I was muted the whole time. I'm not sure what's different here. So I'm sitting in the classroom. If you guys didn't know, I committed to be in the classroom today. So I'll be in the classroom for both sessions. I teach at 10 a.m. and 11:30. Same class, same room. So that's what I'm doing now. It's a very different experience for me, so give me some grace as I try to maneuver and admit the folks who are still coming on board. What is your name?
Hobie.
Hobie?
Yes.
We have Hobie live. I'd turn the camera at you, but it's very weird. I have one student in the classroom. So as we get everybody loaded into Zoom, those of you who are going to join, this is being recorded. It's being posted to Facebook and YouTube Live. So you'll be able to watch it later if you're not watching it now. Can't hear. Okay, so you can hear me now. And thank you very much for signing in with your date. Hey, student number 2 showed up in the classroom. What's your name? Anna? Hannah. Nice to meet you, Hannah. All right. So, Hannah, I guess you voted for...
I voted actually synchronous online, but I thought I would show.
Cool. Well, nice to meet you. We'll see how today goes, this session and the next. Now, Hobie, did you vote for in-class mandatory attendance?
I didn't asynchronous, but I also wanted to come to class.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome. So this is kind of a test. There were some students in my 11:30, in case you guys didn't know this, there were some students in my 11:30 session who were adamant that they signed up for in-class and they expected it to be in class. So I said, okay, I'll show up. So here I am. We'll see how it goes in the next session. So I'm happy to know so far it's only 10:04 a.m. And just to remind everybody, on the Zoom meeting, I will be admitting students until 10:05 a.m. After that, you won't be admitted to the Zoom meeting. So you will then need to watch it on Facebook or YouTube. I will save the recording in our playlist on YouTube, so you'll get that. I should go over here and turn on that just so that I can see if it's all working. So I'm over here turning on the 224. Oh, I just gave everybody the password to the system. Did you know the password to the system? Do you want to know the password to the system? I don't want to tell you because now that I'm on the internet live, that would be bad. So I'm going to go turn on the screen so that what you're seeing on Zoom will be seen on the screen. By the way, this is a big test for me. I've never done asynchronous live in the classroom. You can tell this room is not equipped for the Zoom room. Have you guys been in a Zoom room?
Yeah.
You have? What's the difference?
I don't think there's anything too different.
There's just a camera set up.
Just a camera that moves around? And a mic too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this room doesn't have a mic and it doesn't have the camera that follows you. So instead we have this camera, which I'm going to turn on because I'm curious to know for you, do you like the Zoom room? Is that a cool experience?
Yeah, I think it feels the same to
Yeah.
students. I'm sure it's a lot easier.
Yeah. I teach at Rice University. I haven't taught in a while since COVID, but they have a Zoom room. That's where I teach. So it's very cool technology. It's like everybody who's on the Zoom call is on the screens around the room. Yeah, there's big screens in front, big screens in back. So no matter where you are. And in that course, you're required to show your face. Like I don't require my students to show their face, and when they do, sometimes it's scary, just like my face is scary. So anyway, okay, it's time to get started. So I have now 3 people. Looks like there's still 3 people. So I'm going to admit the last people into the Zoom room. So again, important announcement. If you're coming into the Zoom room, if you're coming into the Zoom meeting, you will be admitted up until 5 minutes after. So there are still students coming in, and I'm still admitting them, but it is actually 10:07. So just so you know, once I start teaching, I'm going to try not to be distracted by people coming in late. And plus, in addition to that, one of the things that I feel pretty strongly about is that the students who show up on time deserve the respect of not having me repeat over and over for students who come late. So for that reason, we start 5 minutes after. There's a little bit of a grace period. So that's what we're going to do. So there's still people coming into the Zoom room, and I'm still admitting them, but I'm going to start teaching now. So today we're going to talk about saving and spending. I hear somebody have a question. I am assuming most of you are muted. If you have a question on Zoom, speak up. I will hear you in my AirPod. Otherwise, you're not being heard in the classroom. So I hope this works for everybody. Again, this is a test. So far, so good. Are you, Hannah, what are you doing on your laptop? Are you taking notes? Taking notes. Okay, cool. It's okay. But since there's only 2 students in the classroom, you can do whatever you want because I'll be able to pay close attention. One of the things, this is my first time to be in a classroom since COVID. You guys been in classroom a lot? So it's really weird. It's really weird, especially since there's only 2 students in the classroom. And then there's you on Zoom. So one of the things I used to do when I taught in the classroom was ask everybody to put their phone on airplane, close their computers, because you really don't need to take notes typically. And the course in the old days was a lot of dialogue, a lot of interaction, a lot of conversation. And I thought that's how it would be with online, but guess what? It doesn't happen. So when I found out we were going to be teaching in the classroom this semester, I was pretty excited on the one hand, but I was kind of nervous on the other hand, because what I've heard and what I've learned is that as students are coming back into the classroom, there's kind of a new paradigm. Do you guys know what a paradigm is? It's kind of a new mindset, a new way of being. And the new way of being in the classroom is a lot more like the way of being in an online class, where you don't do a lot, you're not really interacting as much. So is that something you guys have experienced in the classroom?
Not really. I mean, I only have one other class face to face. So
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're getting a very slow start back to normal. So anyway, that was one of the things I was prepared to deal with, expecting a full room of students who didn't want to talk like you on Zoom. You don't really love to talk. In fact, I can't tell if my... Say that again? Oh, I'm always talking? Well, oh, you are? Oh, how much talking do you do? Who's talking now? Hey, Charles. Yeah, you have shared quite a bit. So, how many of you guys are in classrooms right now? I mean, how many of us professors that you guys have are in the classroom? I'm going to look at the chat. Are most of your classes online or in the classroom? I'm looking at numbers, so I don't know how many classes you have, but it looks like 1, 3, 2, 3, 2. So I don't know how many classes y'all are taking, but I'm assuming you have 12 to 15 hours, which means you have 3 or 4 classes, right? So if you have 3 in person, Iris says 3 in person. A few of you say 3 and 4. Andrea's got 4. Hey, Andrea, is that all of your classes are in person now? They are? Cool. So let me ask you, is it different? Yeah. Being in person, she said she likes to be in person because online it's more distracting. You're distracted with Facebook, you're distracted with the dog barking, you're distracted with Netflix, whatever. So let me see, I'm looking for comments. Half and half, 3 online, 5 classes all online. So did you guys know I was going to be in class today? You can put yes or no. Who said? I'm on my MacBook, which means I have a really small screen and it's hard to see who's talking. So who said that? You emailed me? Raymond. You emailed me about 2 things, didn't you? Yeah, okay. So this morning I've been pretty busy. So I didn't see your email this morning. So how many of you would want to be in class if you knew if you knew I was here? How many of you would be here if you knew? I'm not saying I'm going to be here. Remember, I gave the opportunity for students to vote on in-class mandatory attendance or online asynchronous on demand. And what do you think the voting was? How do you think those votes came in? Some of you know how you voted, so you would come to class. I do know. How would you do it? Yeah, most students, and when I say most, I haven't tabulated because they came in so randomly and in different places. I should have just created a Google sheet and made everybody vote. But I would say 60 to 70% of the students said online, asynchronous, on demand. 60 to 70%. And then what surprised me was, probably 20% said they wanted to be in class. So 1 out of 5 students said they preferred to be in the classroom. But guess what the rest of the students voted for? Both. So think about that if you're me and you have 2 options, 2 things you're willing to commit to do, either this or that. I can do either this or that. But doing both is a little bit more challenging. It's significant, the way that you have to manage a classroom, it's 2 different jobs basically. And so, it's like I never offered that option, but some students want that option, and I get that. I would like to have that option too, the third option where you get both. You get your cake and you eat it too. But I'm not sure that's going to work. So I'm here today to test drive the whole thing and see what it's like. So I'm sorry that you guys didn't know that I was going to be here. It was the second class. I teach this class twice, and it was the 11:30 class that really let me know they wanted to be in the classroom, and that's why I committed to be here today. So you didn't get the note because it was the 11:30 class. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be here next week because chances are I won't. Chances are this is going to be an online course because that's how the votes came out. However, I'm not going to make that decision until I meet with my clear and courageous students from the 11:30 class who really raised a rumpus about not getting what they paid for. So I feel like I owe it to them, and I would owe it to you too if you said the same thing. So I'm totally open to hearing your concerns if you're one of those students who said, look, I signed up to be in a classroom. It's a higher quality education to be face-to-face. I think we could all agree to that. I do believe that it's a higher quality education if we're in the classroom. However, if 60 to 70% of the students aren't going to show up, that's not a better outcome. And if that's the situation, if that's the reality, then we have to deal with reality. And so my approach would be, okay, I'm going to deal with reality. I'm going to teach to the students the way they want to be taught to, and the wide majority says they want to do online on demand as opposed to mandatory attendance in the classroom, at least for this semester. That looks like it's going to be the way it is. So if you have any comments or questions about that, or even suggestions, chat them in, talk it up, and I'm all ears. So yeah, Ariel, I'm like you. If I have to come to class, I will. But if I can teach from my studio or my office, that's easier. It's really easier. And it's a lot easier to either teach to this little thing here or to teach here. It's twice as hard to do both, so I don't know how that would work. So there we have it. Okay, let's talk about the assignment. This week, you guys, by the way, did a great job on your assignments. I last night before I went to bed, I graded everything that was in the queue, but I know that if it weren't for the last minute, very little would get done on college campuses. So in other words, there's typically the majority of assignments get submitted just before the deadline. So I graded everything that was in the queue last night, but there's a bunch that are in the queue that I have not graded. So I wanted to talk about this week's assignment, but I wanted to make an announcement. Some of you received your grade for this assignment, and you got a little note and a little surprise. Did anybody get a little surprise? What was your surprise, Hannah?
If you submit it on Friday or before Friday at 3 p.m.
Yep, Hannah is talking. I know you can't see Hannah or hear her, but She said she got the note from me that says if you turn your assignment in early by Friday at 3 p.m. So that's Friday. So I have a business. I'm an adjunct professor. I have a business, and my business is investment management and financial planning. It's a wealth management company. So I manage investments, which means when the market is open, I'm pretty, like yesterday, I don't know if anybody follows the market, but yesterday was brutal. Today looks like it's brutal too. But when the market's open, I tend to want to be paying attention and being available to do my job. So that's why 3 p.m. The market closes at 3 p.m. So typically Friday, before I go home, I want to grade everything that's in my queue. And if you are one of those students who likes the idea of getting things done soon, that's a huge good habit to have in life and financial planning, and I want it to be the same in this course. So I want to incentivize you. I know that I'm competing with every other course that you're taking and with everything else in your life. I know that I'm competing with all of that. This course is competing with all of that. And I want your attention. I'm committing to help you learn the things you need to learn to become a millionaire by the time you turn 50. And I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to learn the things you need to learn. And I promise you, by the end of the semester, you're going to learn what you need to know about saving, about investing, even a little bit about tax-advantaged investing. And you're going to learn everything you need to learn. And if you will do the things that I teach you to do, it will be very easy for you to become a millionaire by the time you're 50, if you are not already like 45 years old. So Friday at 3 p.m. I heard a comment or somebody wanted to say something on Zoom. So I'm going to be quiet and listen. Anyone? Going once? Yes, Charles. Yes? Yeah, there'll be different chapters every week. So one thing you should know, say that again. I'm having a hard time understanding you, Charles. You might want to... So you took a quiz? You're talking about a quiz? Hello? Charles, I think I'm losing you. Yeah, I can hear you now. Much better. Yeah, great question. So you took the quiz in Money Study Group, the online course. You took the quiz, you got 100%, and then you're going to go ahead. Yeah, so there are no more. The chapters are being built this semester as we go. Last semester, everything was built and it was already loaded, and you could see the entire course. But I got some complaints last semester because we had probably about 1,000 students, and I was using a WordPress website. It worked great until we got to about 1,000 students, and then it just went really, really slow. So I upgraded the platform, but what that means is I have to basically recreate all of the content. So I'm committed to doing all that work this semester, but unfortunately, this semester, the students who are in this class this semester are going to have to just put up with the fact that the content isn't going to be there until just in time. So today, I'll be working on this week's assignment and this week's content, and it'll be in your online portal, okay? So so great question, Charles, but that's the answer. Is it's just not available yet because I'm building it as we go this semester. It's already built. It's just on another platform, and I have to migrate it. Yes, Hannah.
Was there a quiz? Because I didn't see that in the money study group when I went through it.
Was there what?
A quiz?
Yeah, there was a quiz.
I didn't see that when I went through all the modules for week 1. I didn't see it.
Did anybody take the quiz? I could jump over into.
See a quiz online as well.
Okay. Is it and it's the baby steps, yes? Yep. Okay, so maybe we didn't have a quiz. We did have a quiz. Well, we had questions like, yeah, there is for week 2, but there was kind of a quiz. There were some questions I asked you to answer. And
Headshot and
yeah, so, and if you got full credit in your assignment, you took those screenshots, that's just to show me what you did, so I don't have to go into your course and look, because I don't have time to do that. So if you just grab a screenshot. And that's what you're going to do with quizzes. There will be a quiz every week, and when you take the quiz, you'll get a score. And so you're just going to grab a screenshot and you're going to paste that into your document. So, and everybody did that this week. So sometimes you're going to do the quiz, give me a screenshot of the quiz, but you're also going to give me a screenshot. Each week there's going to be some class collaboration where I'm going to say, like, what is, and this was last week's instructions, but I didn't make it super duper clear. So I'm going to make it super duper clear this week that I need to know. And some of you answered this, but most of you didn't. What tracker are you going to use this semester to track all of your spending? So we talked about that a little bit, and there is one line in the assignment that asks you to include that, but I didn't see it for everyone. I just want to make sure you do it. So I'm going to just remind you to do that this week. And so I might miss whether or not you put that in your assignment and answered that question. I might miss it because, frankly, I don't care what you use to track your spending. But here's the important part that you want to know. Near the end of the semester, you're going to have an assignment which is going to be all about your spending for this whole semester. So in order to do that assignment and get the points that you're going to need for that assignment, you're going to need to be using an app to track your spending. So again, let me just repeat, if you're like I bank with US Bank, and then they have a great app, and all of my checking account saving, I got like 6 accounts there. So anything I do for spending, it's going to show up in that app, and I can download the statements. Most of you use a debit card, and so and most of you just kind of have one debit card. Maybe you have 2, but if you have 2, then if they're at different banks, then you're using 2 different apps. Even if you didn't download the app and use it, that data for all of your transactions is stored at that institution. So what I'm telling you right now is that at the end of the semester, you're going to have to grab all that data, you're going to download the data into a spreadsheet and show me the data. So if you get to the end of the semester and you're like, hey, I was going to use Excel to track my spending, you're going to get nicked on that assignment. You will not get full points because I'm not going to trust that you took the time to enter every single transaction. So I'm just saying, show me the data. I want to know that you're tracking your spending, because what I know is that if you're accountable with yourself about where your money goes, that discipline, that one habit can make a world of difference in your financial life. And that's why we do this. I don't care about looking at where you're spending money. So that's the first part of the assignment, is just to be accountable, that you tracked your spending. You can blur it out if you want. I mean, you could cheat if you want and give me your mom and dad's transactions, but don't do that. I want yours. So that's part of it. There are 3 parts to this assignment. One is I want the data. So that's why you need a tracker. The second one is you're going to take that data and you're going to put it into some kind of chart. It could be a pie chart, a graph chart, I don't care, whatever's easy. So you're just going to take that data, categorize it, and create a chart. And then the third part of that assignment is you're going to tell me what you learned this semester about your own spending. Typically, I hear from students, wow, now that I'm paying attention to what I'm spending, I see how much I'm spending at Starbucks or how much I spend at the liquor store, the nightclub, or eating out or whatever. So this assignment that you'll do at the end of the semester requires that you track your spending, and that's why you need to figure out how are you going to track your spending. It's super easy if you just use an app from your bank. Jonathan, did you have a question? Okay, Charles. The whole semester. Yep. Is that overwhelming? So yeah, you're just gonna try. The tracking part is super easy. Do you use a debit card, Charles? Oh, cool. Mint is great. Mint, over the years, Mint has been the #1 choice for tracking spending because Mint allows you to, it's called aggregate. So you can take all of your accounts. If you have a bank account, savings account, checking account, if you got a debit card, a credit card, maybe you have 2 credit cards. I have 3 credit cards now, one for my business, one for personal, and one for, I don't tell anybody what it's for, but I'm kidding. Anyway, so with Mint, you can aggregate all of your accounts, including your E-Trade, your Robinhood, whatever. So Mint is great for that purpose. Now, I'm going to give you a little heads up. This week, you're going to register for a planning portal. My company is called Bayrock Financial, and we use a really cool tool for financial planning, and you're going to have access to this tool. You're going to register. It's free. It's part of the course, the cost of the course, but you're going to register for this online planning portal, and you're going to start to set up your own financial plan. So this semester, I'm going to walk you through creating your own financial plan online. And part of that system has a tool that does exactly the same thing Mint.com does with the same level of security encryption. It's bank level security. Hey, welcome. So you will have access to that tool, which again is just like Mint.com. The only difference is there won't be advertising. If you do Mint, it's a free tool, but you get hammered with advertising, and you get solicitations from people who are trying to sell you investments and life insurance and mortgage and credit cards and anything financial. So that's the only difference between Mint.com and this tool that you're going to have access to. It comes with a mobile app, and it lets you integrate or link your accounts. So you will have access to do that. You're not required to do that. But I'll tell you this, as you work on your budget for this semester, this financial planning tool, I use it with clients who have millions of dollars, and it's a great tool, and I'm going to teach you how to create your own financial plan. We're actually going to create a financial plan for you all the way to retirement. So I'm going to walk you through the process so that you can see how financial planning works in all of the essential elements of a financial plan. And one of them is budgeting. So just so you know, you'll be tracking your spending, and you'll be using whatever, however you spend money. But if you want to take it to the next level, you can use the tool that you will have access to as of this week once you register for the online planning portal. So that's different than your online course. Your online course is where the content will be. That's where you'll take the quizzes. That's where you'll see the content, and you'll interact with one another in a community. So that's the online course. The financial planning portal is where you will work on your financial plan. And that's where you will be able to, if you decide you want to do it, to link your debit card, credit card, Robinhood account, whatever accounts you have. So if you're down the road a bit with your financial planning or investments or whatever, this is a great tool for you to take advantage of to actually build a real financial plan this semester. So I hope that helps.
Can we use that to also track our spending as well?
Yeah, but it will only track your spending if you link your card. So it doesn't do you really any good. The budget component of this software does you no good if you haven't linked your card. So I always like to put a good plug in. I always get feedback from students who say, I don't want to link my card. I don't want to give that kind of information. I get that. But frankly, your bank has that information. And if you're using mint.com, they have that information. And this tool, it links your accounts, but it's a read-only kind of thing, okay? It's just like mint.com. They can't go in and move money around in your accounts. They just see what you did. It's a one-way feed, and that's what the Bayrock planning portal does as well. So again, I don't pressure anybody to do it. I just tell you, some of your assignments are going to require, one in particular will require that you be accountable this whole semester for everything you spend. So figure out what debit card you use and just make sure that you know how to access the data with your bank. It's super easy. If you don't know how to do that, you're going to learn how this semester. So those are the three things in that assignment. I want the data. I want you to be accountable for every transaction. Number two is you're going to have to make a chart. It shouldn't be too hard for most of you. It's the hardest part of the assignment for me is to make a chart because I have to use Excel or Google Sheets or whatever. But so you have categories of spending, you'll make a chart. And number three, I want to know, what did you learn about yourself this semester in the context of your own spending habits? So that's what that assignment is about. And it's really part of the overall, course. Any questions? Okay. Yes, sir, Raymond. Blackboard. All assignments should be submitted to Blackboard. Now, I tried something different this morning. I clicked on a little button that said assignment, and I'm not sure how that works, and I didn't really have time to figure it out. So I probably should have just posted the quiz along with the content, but all assignments will go into Blackboard. So if you do get any assignments, as I figure out how to use this new platform, I may use the assignments there, and then I'll just ask you to grab a screenshot to let me know you did the assignment in your online portal. So, but good question, thanks. I apologize, I'm learning this new platform. If any of you ever built an online course, it's an epic experience. I think everyone should have to do it. I've wanted to do it for literally 10 years, and I never did it because it was just too much work. But then COVID hit, and I said, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. And so I built I think it was a perfect online course. The only problem was the platform got really slow and I started getting complaints. So I found a better platform. It's different though, so I'm learning how to use it, and I'm just migrating the content. So thanks for your patience. Okay, let's see, it's 9:41. I think I should jump into a little bit of teaching. What's your name?
Jose.
Jose?
Yeah,
Oh,
about the mattress.
yeah. Good to see you, man. So why are you late?
My sister. I
Your
told her to wake up
sister.
at 8, and she didn't. And I was studying. I'm like I don't sleep a lot. I study for an accounting course.
Yeah.
And that course kicks my butt. So I'm trying to get.
So you're an accounting student.
Yes.
So you're going to just sail through this week's accounting and accountability.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You could create a budget though in your sleep, right?
Yeah. I mean, I basically keep track of everything. Like I know my sister makes me spend almost $2,000 just off of food.
Oh, wow. So this week's assignment is you're going to create a very simple budget, and I don't really care, you're going to create a budget just so you know how to create a budget. But what's more important is that you spend a little time and you think about the categories of expenses. So when you create a budget, you have income and expenses. I call it inflow and outflow. And so honestly, I hate budgeting. I think a lot of people don't love budgeting. Why do you think that is?
They hate that expenses are higher than what they generate.
Yeah, so if your expenses are higher than your income, the idea of budgeting and being accountable is painful because it forces you to look at the gap and feel the anxiety, the stress of knowing that you're spending more than you're making. And that's just downright not fun. It's painful, right? So people want to what? Avoid it. Just like we want to avoid anything that's painful. We're attracted to things that are not painful, like Rocky Road ice cream, right? Or double cheeseburgers. You can tell I like food. Yeah. But when it comes to managing money, budgeting is one of those things that it's a discipline that not everybody loves to do. I don't like to budget. It's a pain in the neck, but it's, there was a time in my life where my income and my expenses were really close, and sometimes I would spend more than I had coming in, and that would get me in big trouble. I remember I've been married for, since 1980, oh man, I can't remember the year, 1981, I think.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's bad that I can't remember if it was 81 or 82. My first child was born 1 year after we got married, and I think his birthday's in 82, which means we got married in 81. But I always think we got married in 82 and his birthday's 83. Honestly, at the moment, if you put a gun to my head, I can't tell you for sure. One of those. But anyway, my wife was a teacher, and I worked as an auto mechanic, and not my wife, but I liked to spend money. So I would spend money like crazy, and whenever I didn't have money, I would stop at the ATM machine because we didn't have a debit card back then, but we had this card called an ATM. Anybody have an ATM? You can do the same thing with your debit card. You can go get cash with your debit card, right? But back in the day, remember, this is like 126 years ago. Back in the day, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have a mobile phone. Like, there was no such thing as a mobile phone. There was no such thing as the internet. If there was an internet, it was like a military use only. I'm serious. There was no internet. Believe it or not, there was a time when there was no internet. And so this is the time I'm talking about. And my wife and I, we were married. We were trying to figure out how to do life together, including how to manage money. And she was working at it a whole lot harder than I was. I was working hard at being an auto mechanic, and I thought I made pretty good money. We had a house payment. We bought furniture on credit. I think we had a car payment, maybe 2 car payments. Sound familiar? Like a normal household. We had all these things that we really wanted that we felt like we had to have. At least I felt like we had to have them. But the problem was, here was the problem. So I'd get paid, and I made pretty good money as an auto mechanic. I was pretty good at that. And I worked at Sears. I got paid commission, so the more work I did, the more money I got paid. And when I had a really good week, I would typically want to stop by the bank with my little ATM card. And what do you think I wanted to do?
Get some cash.
What do you think I used my cash for? No idea. Food. Yeah, I did like to go out to eat, but what was that?
Like buy a little gift or something?
A little gift for who?
For the family or yourself?
For the family or myself. So what I was into was camping and hunting and fishing, and so I had this friend he had access to guns He was a State Farm's claim superintendent, so whenever there was a claim, like somebody's house got broken into or whatever, guns got stolen, whenever they got recovered, it was his job to go get the guns and take them to a dealer and sell them. So that's how they handle salvage on an insurance claim. It's called salvage. So my friend Vance, that was his job. He was the salvage administrator, which means that he would have all these dealers and they would make him a sweet deal because he would come to them with insurance salvage and he would sell it to them at a really low price. So they loved him because they would turn around and sell it at a very high price. So my friend Vance had access to all these weapons, like pistols, rifles, hunting gear, right? And he had found this .357 Magnum pistol. It was a Smith & Wesson, beautiful gun, and I wanted it really bad. The problem was, my wife and I, we were living paycheck to paycheck because our bills had exceeded our income, and so it got so out of control. My wife showed me one day, this is how ignorant I was. She showed me how much we were paying in fees and interest on our credit cards. And so I'm going to teach you that this semester. And it's a lesson that comes straight from my wife. So she shows me how much we're spending on fees and interest. And it made me mad because it's like, no way. I couldn't believe I was spending my hard-earned money just giving it to credit card companies. So we decided to do what it's called a spending freeze. Anybody ever hear of a spending freeze? What do you think it
It's
is?
like kind of like, let's say you calculate that in about 2 years you'll finally be able to do break even.
Yeah.
For that whole period, you just don't spend at all.
Yeah, for that.
This is necessary.
Yeah, so you make up your mind that you have a problem, right? Your income and your expenses there's a gap. And so you stop spending until you can close that gap. And that's what my wife and I committed to do. We committed to one another. I didn't like the idea, but it was clear to me we needed to do it because by the time she showed me how much we were spending on credit card fees and interest, I was like, I'm not going to keep doing that. Because the point was, our credit cards and our credit accounts would never get paid off. That's what she showed me. Like, it's a racket. They set it up so that you pay the minimum payment, which is what we were doing, and they would never get paid. And the problem was, one of the problems was, when I would go to the ATM and take out that money, remember, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have mobile phones. My wife would be balancing the checkbook. Does anybody ever hear of such a thing as balancing the checkbook? Nobody ever does that anymore. Charles, do you do that? That's the old people. What? Like 127 years ago. He said it's the old people back in the day. You guys can't hear it, but yeah. I learned that when I started teaching.
Do the direct deposit.
I see what you're saying though, like you have your Venmo, your Cash App, etc.
Hey,
not just that. It's just that the need to write checks, like is kind of like obsolete unless you're a company now. Like as for a personal use, you don't really have to pull out a check and write a check for somebody. You can just give them a direct deposit. Like for example, on my apartment where I live at, right? I used to want to write checks for them because that's where I keep track. Nowadays, they don't even accept checks. They just accept direct deposit.
So that's right. Today, you don't really, most people, and I learned this the first time I taught this class, the first assignment was you were going to learn how to balance your checkbook, and people looked at me like, I don't write checks. And I'm like, whoa. That's when I realized, Charles, that I was old. And Raymond, I know they do it at the big banks and companies still do it, but most people don't. Because you can look at your phone and you can see exactly how much money you have instantly. And when you go spend it at the gas station or whatever, it changes your balance instantly so you know how much you have in your account if you're using a debit card.
Correct.
But back to my story of 127 years ago, my wife and I, trying to figure out how to be married and how to live as a copacetic couple, including how we manage money, I was so excited about this 357 Magnum that I would stop by the ATM and pick up some money. And my wife, who was home balancing the checkbook, I got to teach you, I got to set it up so you understand how that worked, because everything was done by mail with a stamp. Like you wrote out a check, you put it in the mail, it got mailed, and then they would cash it and it would go to the bank and the bank would cancel it so that at that point your account would have an updated journal entry, and then somewhere along the line they would print out that statement and they would put a stamp on it and they would mail it to you. And then when you got the statement, you would look at all the canceled checks that they sent to you, and you would make sure you would account for all of the checks that were written so that you knew if there were any checks, like if I wrote a check to Obi, I'm sorry, I thought you said Hobie. I'm like, wait, can't be right. Obi. If I write a check to Obi and he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna cash it. He puts it in his pocket. He goes and plays some basketball. He washes the shorts and the check gets disintegrated and he loses it, forgets about it. But I'm sitting here with a check on my balance that's not cashed. So I need to deduct that and say, right? So my wife's doing that. She's balancing the checkbook. But what she doesn't know as she's doing this is that same day I stopped by the bank, took out some money with my ATM card. So what is that? Do you see how that screws her up? Because it takes so much time for the bank to send a statement. She's balancing the checkbook and she thinks there's money in there, so she starts writing more checks. But I took some cash out and I forgot to tell her because I wanted to buy that 357 Magnum. And I'm thinking we got plenty of money because I just got a really big paycheck, but I have no idea how much money's going out in the bills because that was her job. You see how that's a terrible scenario, but that was our scenario? We got in a big fight too because I'm on the phone, and it wasn't a mobile phone. We didn't have mobile phones. It was a phone with a line, a wire, and I was on the phone laying on the floor watching our new TV that we bought on credit. And I was talking to my friend Vance, and I happened to say something about that pistol that we just acquired that I was so excited about. It was a secret to my wife because, remember why? Why was it a secret?
Because the checkbook.
No, because we were on a spending freeze. We committed to have a spending freeze, but I had to have this pistol. It was too good a deal to pass up, so I grabbed some money and I buy the pistol. And my wife's over here working diligently, not spending any money because we committed to a spending freeze. And so she's balancing the checkbook and comes up short, but she doesn't know it for a week or like a month because it takes that much time for all of her checks to bounce because I took money out of the ATM and didn't tell her. And now she hears me whispering to my friend Vance about this 357 Magnum. And she's super smart. She can figure stuff out like that, right? So she had a glass of ice cold water. She came over and poured it on me on the floor. We had a fight. She won. She always wins. But that's my story. So my point is, this semester, this week, even though you don't balance your checkbook like we did 127 years ago, you still have the requirement, the discipline. You get an advantage if you pay attention to income and outflows, inflows and outflows. And so that's what I want you to do. And I want you to use your budget in a way to do that. And this week, I want you to start to think about all of the expenses in your life. Because I know some of you you're being assisted through parents or scholarships or loans or other ways where you're not really paying attention to all of your living expenses. So all of your living expenses become a category. Like today I drove my motorcycle to work because I can take the express lane and I don't have to pay the toll. So I like taking my motorcycle. It was a little chilly and a little wet, but it was fine. It's a Goldwing motorcycle. But I wouldn't do that if I took my car. I wouldn't drive on the express lane because it would cost me like $10. So, that if I did that every day, 5 days a week, that's $50. That's $200 a month. That's how much is that a year? $2,400. If I paid $25, I know that's a low amount for a haircut. But if I paid $25 to get a haircut every 2 weeks, that's $50 a month, and that's what, $600 a year. In 10 years, that's $6,000. So I look at my haircut as a $6,000, $60,000 over 10 years, right? That's how much I save cutting my own hair. What about Starbucks? If you go to Starbucks every day. So I want you to start thinking about your expenses, but I want you to pay close attention to the expenses that you currently have, even if you're not the one spending the money on them. So if you live at home and you're not paying rent, I want you to think about what would you be paying rent if you lived in that house and you rented a room. Like, you don't have to put in your budget the entire house. You don't have to put in your budget the entire utility bill, because let's say that it's you and two parents, maybe you and a sibling and two parents. So that's 4 people in the house. So if you have $1,000 house payment, that's $250 a month for you. And if your utilities are $400 a month, that's $100 for you. And if your Wi-Fi is $100 a month, that's $25 for you. So I want you to start thinking about all of the expenses that are included in living your life right now, even though you may not be spending the money on that. That's how I'm going to be grading your budget. I want you to convince me that you understand the cost of living. And to do that, I want you to start to think about your budget and think about those categories. And don't just say, yeah, I didn't spend, and I promise you this is what's going to happen. Half of the students in this course are going to send in a budget, and it's going to be basically what they spend money on. And they're going to think, well, that's what I spend money on, because they didn't hear what I just said, right? I want you to reflect in your budget what it's going to cost, because what we're going to do, what your life costs, is a lot more than what you're probably spending right now. But I want you to start wrapping your head around that. As we build your financial plan throughout this semester, you're going to be creating a financial plan with some basic assumptions. Assumptions like, okay, let's assume that you graduated from college, and let's assume that you got that job that you really want. You're going to have to do a little research to figure out, okay, if I get the job in my industry that I want, how much is it going to pay me a year? And from there, we're going to start to create a budget for things like saving for retirement. And you're going to buy a house. And so in this semester, you're going to buy a house in your financial plan. You're going to go out and shop for a house that you can afford in a neighborhood that you want, the house that you want to have based on the income that you're expecting or hoping to have as you graduate and move into your career. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of create an imaginary financial plan, but it's not totally imaginary. It's based on expectations and as close to reality as possible. So we're going to make, you're going to have lots of flexibility to do that, but I want you to learn how financial planning works. I want you to learn how retirement planning works and how much it costs. And I'm going to teach you a ton about becoming a millionaire by the time you're 50. Did you have a question? No? Any questions on Zoom before we wrap up? And we're a little early, so we have time. Sorry you stared at my I had some things I wanted to show you, but my website got, I have more than one website, but this is what happened this morning. So there has been a critical error on the website. That's my business website. And then I have another website that I was going to use. I called support, Bluehost. They said they fixed it. It's obviously not fixed. I still have a critical error. And so fortunately, if I go here, this is our new platform. Is it going to open? So just so you know, this is, if you go to moneystudygroup.com, it takes you to this landing page. That's the landing page. But that's not where your course is. When you click on that enroll, it takes you to skills.munchback.com. That's where I built the platform, and that's where you will log in and enroll in the course. So I know you guys probably figured that out by now, but when you get into your course, when you sign in, you're going to want to bookmark the page for the course that you're in. There's lots of courses on this platform, but the one you're looking for is Money Study Group. So if you have not already enrolled in the course, you're going to want to do that, because you won't have access to the content in the course if you don't enroll. You can register at skills.munchback.com, and you'll be a registered user, but that won't give you access to any of the, well, it'll give you access to all of the courses for the first couple of lessons, or however much I've made available for free. But there is I think it's $79 fee for the course, and that includes the platform, the course itself, and the financial planning platform that you're going to be using this semester. Now, I want to mention, for those of you who are like me and you're like, well, I already paid for the class, I don't think I should have to pay more for the online part. Think of it like a textbook. Most classes you have to buy a textbook. In this course, forever, we use Dave Ramsey, and so this is a hybrid class. It's always been a hybrid class. It was $100, $105 for Dave Ramsey's course material, and that's what we used in this course forever, and that's what the other professors are still using. It's $100. So I reduced the price to $75 because I didn't want to have anybody be upset. And I figured, how can you be upset if it's less money than you were paying before? So the problem with Dave Ramsey's platform, it was good stuff, it was entertaining, it really was entertaining, but it was like 10 years old, it was outdated, and they weren't updating it. And it didn't give me the ability to interact and give you guys, really personalized training. So now this solves that problem, but it's not free. It's a lot more expensive than you might realize, so I'm asking you to help me out with a little bit of a fee. So I appreciate that too. I appreciate your business. If you have any trouble, like if you can't log in or any issues with the platform, I'm the one you want to let know, and I'll get that fixed. It's a priority. I want this to be as smooth and easy for you as possible. And it has been every semester since we went online, but like I said, it just got really slow. So this should be faster. If you notice any problems with speed, please let me know, because I'll be talking to this is a very expensive platform for me, but I think it's going to solve our problem. So any questions? Okay, well, I'm going to end the Zoom call, and I'll be here. If you have any questions, I'm going to wait just a minute and see if you have any questions. I don't see any questions. I'm going to jump into the chat. Ariel, I'm glad that your mom used to balance her checkbook. Jose?
There's two.
There's two
We
Jose's.
both talked on the same day.
Nice.
One of them talked like on the actual chat, and on the actual audio, and I did the chat.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'll try. Hey, before you go, and you can go if you want, but I have one request. It's not required. I might make this required at some point, but about 5 students so far put their picture in their article. So in that first part where I asked you to introduce yourself, like 5 students put a picture with a smiley face. It was such a treasure. So I want to just encourage you, to do that in all of your assignments, because here's why. Because I've got about 105 students right now enrolled, right, in two courses, 10 o'clock and 11:30. And I want to get to know you guys, even if we're online, which it looks like we're going to be online. I'm not going to be for sure until after I meet with my crazy cohort. No, I'm kidding. Don't tell them I said that. But what I do want to do is get to know you, and so it's really helpful if I can see your picture. Every time you turn in an assignment, if you just keep your picture and paste it in at the top, then I'll be able to, like when I'm reading your deal, I'll be looking in your face, and that would be really cool. So I didn't come up with that idea. Like I said, about 5 students did, but I liked it so much I'm thinking about making it a requirement. But I'm at least asking you to do that. So show me a little love and give me your picture. And so that's it for today. I'll see you next week, and the assignment will get posted as soon as I finish my 11:30 class, unless the market's melting down, in which case I got to go do some work for clients. But I'll post the assignment for sure before I go to sleep tonight. It'll be due next Tuesday at 10 a.m., just like this week, and every week after. All of your assignments get turned into Blackboard. All of your assignments get posted to Blackboard, but you'll have a lot of supporting content that will be posted in your online course. This week, you're going to register for Bayrock. There's a link in Money Study Group to do that, and you're going to basically set up the first few data cards of your financial plan, your name, your age, that kind of stuff. So it's super easy. Get in there and do that, and that'll be part of every week. We're going to be adding on to that. At the end of the semester, there's a capstone assignment. It's basically your financial plan, the entire financial plan. Your capstone is where we put it all together. And so throughout the semester, each lesson and each homework assignment moving forward now will include a piece of your capstone. So today you're going to register for that planning portal, and you're going to start to build your financial plan, and we're going to build on that, and that will be your capstone. It's worth 200 points. The other thing that's worth 200 points is class participation. So when I ask you to do something like give me your picture, you get those 200 points are yours to lose. And so when I ask you to do stuff, if you collaborate and group me, if you answer a question and group me, grab a screenshot, show it to me, keep it so that if there are any questions at the end of the semester, if I'm like, I didn't see you doing anything to engage, and I don't give you the full 200 points, then you can say, oh yeah, no, look, I want you to keep that information so you can quickly show me, and I'll say, oops, I was wrong. But I want to get to know you. If you put your pictures in your assignments, you're going to be golden, because I'm going to be like, okay, you're not hiding. Some students hide. So don't hide. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions. I'm looking at the chat. I'm scrolling down. Is there anyone here who's in marketing and has experience with marketing, looking to hire? So Charles, can I put in my application? I'm trying to learn about marketing. I'm hoping you can hire me and train me. Just kidding. That's a kind of borderline, though, putting job offers in the chat in the Zoom on a U of H class. I might have to mess with you a little bit about that. Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
You bet. Y'all have a great day. Take care. I'm going to end. First, I'm going to go. You bet. Have a great week.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
You bet. Y'all take care. So now I'm going to